Okay, so I'm like starting a Halloween spooky vlog, and I was like, I should wear like something spooky, like, I don't know, costume. And I'm like, okay, what do I have? I have this Viking hat. I don't know where that came from. We also have like this Captain Morgan hat. It's cool, but I'm like, do I want everyone to think all I do is drink? But then I found something truly horrifying. Like, those aren't scary, but this is truly horrifying because it's a dick tiara. There's nothing more horrifying than penis. So yeah, happy October, happy spooky season. Most of the people that watch my videos are the same people, so they probably know. Yeah, I'm a chicken. A lot of you know I don't really like spooky books. I don't like spooky stuff because I'm a baby. I'm an absolute baby. Last year I did a vlog reading spooky books, and I got a bunch of people to request books that are not too spooky, and then I like ordered them from like what I thought would be the least scary to the scariest, and then I attempted to get through the entire list, and I did do it. So I didn't request any suggestions this time. I have literally just picked books that I'm personally interested in reading, and I have put them in an order of what I think, again, will be the scariest to the least scary, and I'm going to see how far I can get. But this is the list. These are the books, and that's the order. So this is the least scary at the bottom to the top. And then after I read them, wherever I get up to, whether I read them all or not, I'll like give you an order of what actually ended up being the scary to the least scary. But last year I ended up finding one of my favorite books of all time, Mexican Gothic. I was not expecting to find a favorite book in that video, and I love that book. So I'm really excited and hoping I can find another new favorite. We'll see how I go. We'll just see how this chicken goes. And I promise I won't wear this dick tiara again. It's going away now. It's going back in the cupboard until the next hen's party I get invited to, and then it's coming back out again. This lighting's terrible. It's one of my vlogs, so no one's here for good quality content. Okay, so I just finished Mother Thing, and I don't know. I don't know where to start with this. Where do I start with this? This reminded me so much of Bunny in that, like, so much is like a fever dream, and I'm left with so many questions, and I love it, but I'm also just like, what the fuck did I just read? I didn't like this quite as much as Bunny. I think I'm gonna give it a 4. However, I think that I would have liked this more if I physically read, or even just like read along to the audiobook, but I just listened to this, and I think a lot, I don't know, I feel like there was a quality to this book and the writing that was lost on me because I didn't have the physical book, because there were a lot of different ways that things were written, and when listening to it, it kind of blended in, and I didn't really pick up on it until certain times, and then it kind of felt out of place because I didn't realize, and I was like, it's probably been doing it this whole time. So this book definitely plays around with different like styles of writing and stuff, so I do think that, you know, if you're gonna read this, probably at least have a physical copy to read, or at least flick through, just so you can sort of see these things, because I think that, yeah, I just feel like I didn't get the full effect, and there's so much going on with this book, like a lot, and I think I just would have benefited from me sitting down actually physically reading it rather than listen to it. So this is a book, is again very feverish, weird, and I don't even know like what actually happened and what didn't, and I love books like that, so I'm quite happy with that. But if you don't like them, you probably won't like this book, because like this book's a bit wacky. And so it follows this character called Abby, and Abby has sort of recently moved into her mother-in-law's house with her husband. The mother-in-law has had depression for a long time, and the book kind of starts with her taking her own life, so definitely content warnings for that, and content warnings for familial trauma, and it's very graphic and gory at times and disgusting, so check content warnings. Anyway, her husband, who also has mental health conditions, and he like is like, she's still here, and Abby's like, who's still here? And he's like, my mother is still in the house. So they're being haunted by the mother-in-law, but I'm like, are they actually, or is this just in her head? Is this just in his head? Like, I don't know if that actually happened. So, I don't know, but the house is haunted by the mother-in-law. When the mother-in-law passes, the main character steals this ring and, like, buries it. You kind of, pretty early on, come to the understanding that you do have an interesting main character. Now, I feel for her. She talks about how the title of the book Mother Thing refers to this couch that she, like, would cuddle as a child because her mother didn't love her, and how infants like touch. They crave touch. They require touch. Love is like a universal thing and children need it, and how she didn't get it, so she'd like cuddle this couch. That broke my heart. That was so sad. So you feel for her. You do. You feel for her. She is a very needy person that is looking for love because she didn't get it as a child. Basically a book about mummy issues, let's be real. And so she really wanted to be loved by her mother-in-law, and her mother-in-law didn't love her. Her mother-in-law was horrible. And yeah, she like buries this ring, and so it's possibly to do with that as to why the mother-in-law is haunting them. And shit gets really, really weird. She also works in aged care, and I will say, as someone that works in aged care, loved how this was written, even though like the main character was kind of fucked up. I actually liked the aged care aspect. But yeah, she like latches on to this elderly woman that she cares for and considers her like her baby, and she like fixates on having her own baby throughout the book. And yeah, it's a really just wacky book, and I don't even know like what I take away from it, because I feel like there's just so much going on, and it's probably just this weird book that this author wrote that you can take whatever you want from, because I feel like so much of it is interpretation. But for me, I would say definitely covers familial trauma, the cycle of trauma. You know, clearly her mother really required love. She had all these boyfriends and she'd get it from whoever she could, and the main character was just desperate for love where she could fucking get it. The poor woman. But she was not okay. She was not okay. But yeah, I guess it shows what can happen when people push their limits and their needs are not met. It was a good time. So yeah, if you like Bunny or books like that, weird fever dreams that are also like masterful, intelligent commentaries filled with different themes, this is your book. Hey, okay, shitty phone quality, but I've finished reading The Between and I really liked this. I definitely want to read more books by this author. So this is, some people criticize this because it's not really horror, but I think there are still horrific elements to it. It's definitely like a black horror. It talks a lot about racism, which is horrific. It is a horror, and it's a horror that a lot of people actually face in reality. So it's about this guy who, he has this like near-death experience. He nearly drowns, and his grandmother saves him from drowning, and she sacrifices herself in his place. And so he was meant to die, but he didn't. And there's like a section at the beginning of this book, it's like the introduction or something, and the author talks about how she really wanted to write this book because she always thought about what would happen if someone was supposed to die and then they didn't, but they were meant to die. And just the introduction or forward, whatever it was really good. So I highly recommend picking that up, because this is her first book and it talks about the process of getting this written and talking about like black horror as a genre and everything. And I think gives you a better understanding as to how this is actually like a horror. But it's very like sci-fi as well, because he starts to have these like really creepy dreams because of it, and it does really affect his life. And his wife, who is the only like black judge in their town, has been like getting racist hate mail, and so he's kind of trying to figure out who's sending this. And it's just definitely sort of very psychological horror, talking about racism, the way that it affects people, the isolation, and then because of the dreams, his like descent away from like reality and what's real and what's not. And it really goes into like that, so there's a lot of sci-fi elements too. It's very good. I highly recommend. I really liked it, and I think you can get a lot out of it. There's a lot to look at and discuss. And I also kind of want to reread it because I feel like I probably missed a lot of what was being talked about. I feel like this is a very profound book. I do highly recommend this, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't like scary, but it was definitely like thrilling, and a lot of horrific stuff happening, and it's stuff that people face every day. So yeah, enjoyed. On to the next book. I feel like this looks very seductive, but I promise you it is not. I'm not trying to seduce you. I'm trying to tell you all to never read this book. This is sad. It's really sad. Like, it's not scary. It's just depressing. Like, let's just face it. This isn't a scary book. This is a sad, sad, sad book. It's still horror, but it's not scary. It's sad. So this book, I feel like you probably all know what this is about. This is about Carrie. This is actually Stephen King's debut. There's not many Stephen King books I'm interested in, but this has always been one. It's about this young teenage girl. She's bullied really badly. Her mother is fanatically religious. She's crazy. And she's awful to Carrie. And the book opens with Carrie getting her period in the school showers, and she doesn't know what a period is. Like, her mother has never told her what a period is. And so she's terrified, right? She's absolutely terrified because she's just bleeding everywhere. Obviously, in the shower with the water, it's made it worse. And all the girls are making fun of her and laughing at her and throwing tampons at her. And that kind of is the catalyst of the story. There's this character that feels bad for Carrie. There's a teacher that feels bad for Carrie. You know, these people feeling bad for Carrie. And then Carrie fucks shit up. Because Carrie has, like, abilities. What is it? Telepathic? No. She can, like, move things, right? Carrie can, like, move things with her mind. It's kind of a revenge story. It's a sad story. It's a cautionary tale. It's just this really sad story. This poor girl that never had a chance in life getting revenge at all of these awful religious parents out there that don't let their kids be kids. That don't let their children exist in reality. And it's really sad. Like, I just feel so bad for Carrie the entire book. It just is so sad. And the foreword in this, or like the introduction, is by Stephen King, and it talks about the inspiration, which is based on people he knew. So, like, obviously not the telepathic abilities, whatever they are. Why can I not think of what they're called? Anyway, not that, but like, he knew some girls that both ended up dying. He went to, like, school with that had very crazy religious parents, and they were bullied. So it's obviously, like, stuff that happens, and it's just really sad. So I think it exposes that. It exposes what it's like for these children with these religious fanatic parents that don't let them grow up normally, and what happens to them at school. People don't check in on those people and care about them and help with them. What can happen? I'm looking at the back of this. It's telekinesis. Was I saying that? No, I wasn't, right? That's not what I was saying. What was I saying? Psycho? I can't remember. Anyway, I'm gonna give this, like... Sorry, I feel like the lighting and everything in this clip is terrible. But I think I'm gonna give it, like... 4? 3.5? I think it's 3.5. Because this book is written in a way that I feel like was Stephen King, like, trying to do something cool with his debut book. But in, like, hindsight, I feel like it wasn't really the right way to tell this story. So it's, like, written in a way where there's excerpts about Carrie and what happens. And so at the start of the book, you kind of know what happens. I feel like everyone knows what happens in Carrie. We know that something bad has happened, and it's like, I don't know, a lot of the book is not even about, like, it's all about Carrie, but a lot of the book is not in Carrie's perspective, and it's other people, like, reflecting on what happened, which I think is, like, kind of interesting. But I feel like the suspense and the drama and the drive of this story was Carrie, and every time we got taken away from Carrie to get parts of these books, I was really taken out of the story, and it was really, like, it was giving me blue balls. Well, that's really not the way I should wear that, but, like, it really let me down. It was, like, so disappointing every time we got taken out of that space. I think maybe if they were just shorter excerpts, why do I keep saying that? Excerpts from the books, it would have been better. I do think it's interesting, though, that, like, in Carrie's book about Carrie, who nobody cared about poor Carrie, even in her own book about her, like, it's not all in her voice, like, it's not all in her head, which I think is, like, interesting as well. It just took it out of the story. I think the suspense and the drive was really in Carrie's sections. I also don't think this book was long enough, and I do know, obviously, it's a debut, but not even just the length, but just, this takes place over, like, a week, I think. Like, it does not take place over a very long period of time. It just kind of all just happens at once, and it's over. And I really would have liked more time to settle in this and see more of what Carrie's life was like. Get to know Carrie a little bit better, because I feel like you didn't really get to know her as well as I would have liked. Because I feel like she was, like, a really sweet person, but for me, I just didn't get as much of an emotional attachment as I would have liked. Like, it was just a sad book. You know what I mean? That's what I've got to say about Carrie. Things I liked, things I didn't like. very big sad. So just don't pick it up and go read something fun instead. That's all I can say. Thought I would update you guys on my reading. So I am about just over halfway through Silver Nitrate. For backstory, last year when I did this vlog, my favorite book was by Sylvia Marina Garcia, so I definitely wanted to read another book by her. Oh, sorry, I'm really bad. This clip is crap. So I went into this with high hopes. I recently read Gods of Jane's Shadow, and I think I gave that 4 stars, and last year Mexican Gothic was 5 stars, like my 4th favorite book of the year or something. I absolutely love that book. And so I was going into this with high hopes, which have not been met, but it's fine. I don't think it's a bad book, it's just not the book for me. So it's about this woman, she works in like movies, and she does like audio, and she works for this company, and her boss doesn't appreciate her, the company doesn't appreciate her, she works long hours, shit pay, and just not valued. She has this friend who was like an up-and-coming actor, and then he was in a car accident, and his girlfriend who was driving died in the car accident, and she was like an up-and-coming actress, and so he's kind of blamed for the accident, even though she was like drunk while driving. So yeah, his career died after that incident. Like, he's just flopped, and he's really struggling to like be successful, and he's like a bit of a dick, which I like that Sylvia Marina Garcia's characters are not always like good people, they're just like, I don't know, real flawed people. So I think the characters are alright, but I think my problem with this is that like their lives are really boring and shit. It just goes on and on about it, and it's like, bro, I don't want to repeatedly hear about how boring their lives are, because that is boring. And even when things are like kind of getting interesting, there's just still so much characterization and character building still heavily based on how shit their lives are, and it just goes into great detail about like their lives and them, and they're not that interesting. And I feel like it's like, okay, this is a plot where like they're doing stuff because they are working on like doing a project on this film called Beyond the Yellow Door, that like the film never actually got finished because all of this weird stuff was happening on the set. Like, I think some people died, and like just spooky weird shit was happening, and so they felt like it was cursed and they stopped filming, and there's not a lot of information about it, so they're like wanting to do a project on this film. I just feel like the actual plot is so much better than the characters, but like her writing is pretty character focused, and I normally really like that, but I think in this case they just don't carry enough for the amount of time that we're given to them. And I think this is such a really cool plot that I'd like more time with it, but I also have a problem with that I don't really like what's been done with that like mystery. I feel like maybe like a quarter into the book, maybe a third, we get
like what caused these things. Like we already get that, and so we're like investigating that, and I don't really find what is happening that great. Like it's very interesting, but it's not like spooky, whereas like the idea of this like old film that like nobody really knows anything about and all of this creepy stuff is happening on set is so cool. Like I love that, but I don't love what actually is happening. And I feel like because we already kind of know the cause, it's not as compelling and like mysterious and interesting, because it's like, well, we know, we're just like investigating that thing, but like there's no mystery to it really. Like I guess there is, but not as much as there could be. So that tied in with the boring characterization that's kind of bringing the story down. I'm kind of bored, which kind of sucks because I feel like it's such a cool story, but I just don't care, and it's just not the book for me. Like the way that this book has gone is just not compelling for me, like really at all. So it's like a 3 at the moment, which is kind of sad.
Hello. I have read Night of the Mannequins. And I'm questioning if I actually did read it or it was just like a weird fever dream. It was wild. So this is like a super short story. It's like a novella. It's about this group of friends that found this like Ken doll and they like played with it. We're like following one of the friends in the group and he believes that this Ken doll wants to get revenge on them because they stopped playing with it when they got older and they're like adults now. And yeah, he believes that this Ken doll is trying to kill them. Don't want to say a lot because I feel like this is just great to go in blind. Like I really don't want to say anything because it's like, I don't know, it's just good to go in without knowing anything. It was a really interesting experience. I will just say that it's well written for what it is, but I really just don't want to say why because I don't want to hint at anything. Like I really don't want to hit at anything. Like I could do like a spoiler chat, but really just, I don't have a lot to say. It was wild. I was hooked. I was really just like, what is going to happen? And it was weird and bizarre and honestly kind of scary. Like it was scarier than I thought it was going to be because of certain things that I can't say, but it was a lot. Can't really say a lot. I know that's really bad because it's a vlog and obviously you want my thoughts on a book, but I enjoyed it. I'll give it like a 4 stars. It was weird in a good way. Like it was well done. It was like, yeah, bizarre. So just go in, jump in, see what you think. But it's like a slasher kind of thing. So there's a lot going on. So just be warned. I have something absolutely terrifying to show you. This is not for the faint of heart. I'm serious. This is so scary. It's so big.
That's what she said.
It's freaking massive. This is my giant Togepi. Liam got me a giant Togepi Squishmallow. I don't know why. Look at it. It's so scary. Isn't it just terrifying? Okay, so today I have been reading My Best Friend's Exorcism, and this is about 2 best friends, Abby and Gretchen, and basically Gretchen is possessed by the devil.
Lucifer Morningstar.
So we kind of learn about their friendship and how their friendship formed, and then kind of when shit starts to get weird, the night that the possession may have happened, they were like going out to like skinny dip in this like river, and Gretchen like jumps into the water naked, and it's like shallow, so they're like, fuck. And they can't find her, and she disappears, and they find her the next morning, and she was like in this like house in the woods that had all this really awful like satanic stuff inside. I am absolutely loving this. I am enamored. Like I am obsessed. I'm in awe. It is immaculate. I love this book so much. It's like in my top 3 books of the year so far. I Love it. I've got about an hour left, I think, so it would have to be a completely shit ending to ruin this for me because I am just obsessed. The vibes, like, immaculate. I thought it was set in the 90s, but it's like 80s, like, I guess, like, late 80s. Perfection. Just fucking amazing vibes. I am living for this, like, 80s girl teenage friendship. Learning about how their friendship formed was so beautiful because Abby has a party and then the, like, popular girl in the school has a party on the same day, and so Gretchen's the only person that comes to her party, and at first they, like, kind of hate each other, but then by the end of the party they're, like, best friends. And I just feel so passionately about these two chicks. Like, I just feel so passionately about their friendship, like, seeing it form, and then moments over the years, I, like, have been getting so emotional. I love books about friendship, and their friendship is so sweet, and, like, seeing so many, like, wholesome moments over the years, I'm so upset. Like, it's so upsetting seeing what's happening happen. And the characterization is just impeccable because the characters are just so good. Like, Abby is not, like, a great person. She's kind of a bit of a bitch. She's pretty vain. She's like a teenage girl, you know? She's selfish. She's petty. But she is so good to her friend. And the friendship they have is so sweet. And it just feels real. And I care so deeply about their friendship. And it's so painful seeing Abby go through this and trying to save and help her friend. It's just heartbreaking. And I just feel so emotional about this story. Again, I'm just heartbroken. Like, I feel like I'm gonna cry. It's just so sad. And, like, I wouldn't say this is, like, scary. Like, this is not the most terrifying thing, but it's emotional. Like, it's an emotional story. I wouldn't say it's, like, horrifying. While it is a horrifying thing that is happening, I'm not scared reading this. Like, I'm not reading this for the scare factor. I'm reading this because it's, like, I don't know, campy 80s vibe, and seeing this friendship and this friend trying to save her friend and understand what's happening and get their friendship back, and it's just an emotional story. So I'm gonna finish it and try not to cry. I'm gonna try. So I finished my best friend's exorcism last night, and 5 stars. I loved it. I've been wanting to reread it all day. Like, I just wanted to pick it straight back up and read it again, but I have persevered and not done that. But I loved it. It was just perfection. I loved the ending. It made me tear up. I had, like, 2 tears, which, like, doesn't ever happen. Like, that's a lot for me. I know I didn't, like, cry properly, but the fact that I had 2 tears was a lot. I was just so emotionally invested in this friendship. I just think it was done so well that we got a lot of time with them and their friendship at the beginning. Like, we got to see it from the start and all of these pivotal moments, and we really got a vibe of their friendship, and so we really cared about it. But, like, it was, like, the perfect amount because I felt like it didn't go on for too long, but I felt like it wasn't rushed as well. And I had, like, the best time with it. I just loved it. I just truly wholeheartedly loved it. And I loved that while it was this, like, horror story about someone being possessed by the devil, it was also just a story about friendship and the strength and power of friendship. And I love that they use the word, like, I love you We need more like really intense, beautiful platonic friendships. I just think friendships are just beautiful and they're just not appreciated enough. So the fact that this was about the strength of this teenage girl's friendship was just beautiful. Sorry, I just came home from work and I'm very sweaty and look very disheveled. I feel very disheveled. So, come on, lighting, do your thing. Literally smeared mascara. Because I was just crying. Hey, Togepi. So, I finished Soichi. I didn't love this, to be honest. It was okay. So it was just like, it was almost like a short story collection following this character called Soichi. And he's just like a really kind of fucked little kid. He's kind of evil. He likes to like play pranks. Like he doesn't actually do anything super awful, but he plays these really like kind of fucked up pranks on people. And he's just like really creepy, and he always like eats nails. Well, not eats, but he always has nails like in his mouth. He's like creepy, but I don't know, it never like went there. Like I feel like the other short story collection I read by Junji Ito like went there. Although it doesn't even really like go there. It was creepy enough that you were satisfied without it fully going anywhere. Like, just the idea of what is going on here was enough. Whereas in this one, it just wasn't really. And I just want him to do more with this character. And, like, it could have been so creepy because just the imagery of this creepy child was a lot. But, like, he just, like, kind of played annoying pranks. And, like, sometimes they were kind of creepy, but it never, like, went creepy enough for me to be satisfied. And they kind of found a little bit repetitive. As I said, it was like a short story collection, so each chapter was kind of another story about him being a prick, basically. It just was a bit, like, monotonous, like, very episodic, like, what's he gonna do this time? Be an annoying twat? Who'd have thought? I don't know, it was fine. Like, 3 stars. Hello. I'm looking very horrifying and terrifying in my Sailor Moon t-shirt. Although if you're sexist, you probably hate seeing powerful feminist shit like Sailor Moon, so I guess it's scary for you. But I've started reading Japanese Tales of Mystery and Imagination. So this is a short story collection and it's translated from Japanese. It's a collection of short stories by one of Japan's like fathers of mystery. Is that what you say? Like the founding father? He's one of the founding fathers of the mystery genre in Japan. And so these are just a bunch of his best short stories. I'm reading this because I read Junji Ito's collection last year and it had a short story in that called The Human Chair, and that was my favorite of the collection, and it's based on a short story in this collection called The Human Chair. And so I really wanted to read The Human Chair, and then I saw it was in a collection with a bunch of other stories, so I was very excited when I found this. So yes, I'm a bit over halfway and I'm having a good time with it. Some stories I'm enjoying less so, but majority leave me feeling very unsettled and uncomfortable, which is what The Human Chair was like in the Junji Ito manga. So I'm loving that I'm getting those vibes of just, I feel so uncomfortable and I kind of love it. So yeah, I'm having a good time. My favorite so far is still The Human Chair. That is just so great. So it's about this woman. She's an author. She sits in this chair all day writing. And in this version of the story, she receives this letter, which is this guy confessing that he lives in her chair. And I will leave it at that. There was also a foreword and an introduction, was it? called an introduction or just a forward and a preface. I'm so smart. But they were really interesting, and I did tab 2 things that I wanted to read out. So it says here, far more than conventional mysteries, these stories incorporate elements of the fantastic, the gothic, and the absurd in ways that thrill and entertain, but also leave the reader unsettled as they delve deeply into the fear of the unknown that all humans share, which I definitely think sums this up pretty well. It is very unsettling, and a lot of it is the unknown. In short, the stories in this volume will appeal to readers today just as they appealed to their original readers in Japan. Rampo's concern with alienation and identity, with the limits of sight and the senses, remains as important now as it did then, in a world characterized by increasing violence and chaos, by the disintegration of moral compasses and traditional social support systems, where each of us struggles with questions of identity and society. Rampo's compelling tales of dislocated urbanites in a rapidly changing world resonate deeply, enjoy and be wary. Sorry, I just feel like I'm reading, like, I'm talking about a horror book, and this, like, Togepi is just sitting behind me looking very, very creepy. Like, if I die, it's definitely Togepi. Hello. This clip's probably going to be really bad quality. I feel like this entire vlog is just completely bad quality, and I'm sorry. I've just been a bit of a mess lately. But I've read Clown in a Cornfield, and I am so disappointed. I don't think I've ever been so disappointed in a book in my entire life. This was so disappointing. Like, I didn't even really go in wanting to like this or anything. I was like, this is gonna be so fucking scary. And when I, like, put this on my TBR for the video, sorry, this is, like, stuck in my hair. I was like, this is gonna be so spooky, like, awful, creepy vibes. And I went in, like, expecting to be terrified, and it is so shit. Like, it's not the least scary thing I've read this month, but, like, it was just bad. So, the book starts off like a contemporary or, like, literary fiction. It's, like, going through these characters' lives, and, like, they were at a party, like, for this teenage girl, and, like, her sister, like, drowned at the party, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be relevant somehow. Don't want to spoil whether it was or not, but we won't go into that. But anyway, they, like, want a fresh start, so they go to this town, and there's, like, this clown mascot, and anyway, this clown starts, like, killing people. And it only is, like, halfway, I feel like, through the book that stuff actually starts to happen. So half the book is just this family moving into this small town, and it's just, like, so boring. And then stuff starts to happen, and I'm like, it took 50% to get here. I do not care. And I, like, didn't care. I left. Look at that. I'm just doing housework. I don't need to look pretty. Let me just pin it up. Pretend that didn't happen. Have I got all of it? No, I haven't even got all of it. Fuck me. I just don't care at that point, and it wasn't even that scary, and, like, what was actually happening was super shit, and I was like, this is bad. So yeah, I just think that it wasn't written very well. Like, you should not take that long to get to the point of the book. Honestly, if it's a horror, we want to be horrified the entire book pretty much. Like, there wasn't even, like, foreshadowing or, like, snippets of, ooh, what's gonna happen here. It was just like, we're moving to this small town, and everyone at the school's, like, mean, and I'm trying to fit in, and then, oh, people are being murdered. Anyway, it was so bad. I'm giving it, like, 2 stars. I actually, like, low-key hated it, and I wanted to DNF so bad. I don't know, when I DNF a book, I feel like I can't criticize it very much, so I wanted to finish it so I could shit on it. Happy Halloween, everyone! It's actually Halloween today. Well, tonight. It's like 8:30 here. I've got my pirate hat on. Very festive. But I'm here to wrap this vlog up. So I didn't end up reading The Troop. Not because I was scared. And part of me is like, just lie. Because it'll make the vlog better. But I didn't finish it in time and it returned to the library. I completely forgot that it was getting returned. So I didn't finish it. So it was gone. And I can't get it back in time. That sucks. I just didn't finish it because of that. I was like maybe 2 hours in. I'm pretty sure that book gets really fucked up. So I will read it next October. I promise you. I will read it next October. I ran out of time. So that sucks. But anyway, I will put here my list, my ranking of what I ended up thinking was the scariest to the least scary. No, the least scary to the scariest. It goes that way, right? Anyway, obviously The Troop is not on there because I didn't finish it. But yeah, I consider it accomplished because technically I read everything that I could. My favorite, of course, was my best friend's exorcism. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. I had a great time. I think these vlogs are fun, but I'm always kind of over the genre afterwards, and it takes me a long time to ever feel like I want to pick up one of these books again. Except those rare gems, like my best friend's exorcism, and I'm kind of contemplating reading more by Grady Hendrix. So if you have any recommendations, let me know. So yeah, I will love you and leave you all. I hope you have a great Halloween, and I will see you all in my next video. But until then, bye!